Dear students, welcome to this presentation on tourism policy. Tourism policy statement which sets out parameters which guide development planning into the future. Generally, tourism policy should reflect the overall development policy of the country or region. The objective of tourism policy is to improve the progress of the nation and the lives of the citizens. It maximizes the positive benefits from the tourism activity. This episode has been divided into 5 divisions. They are definition and reasons for tourism policy formulation. Number 2, stages of tourism policy formulation. Number 3, the importance of studying tourism policy. Number 4, role of government, public sector and private sector in tourism policy. Number 5, tourism organizations. Definition and reasons for tourism policy formulation. Policy. Policy refers to an overall high-level plan that includes goals and procedures. Tourism policy is a guideline for planning and developing tourism activities. It is not a tourism plan, but it is the foundation against which planning decisions are made. Once the tourism policy has been agreed and established by the government, then a tourism planning will be implemented to achieve the objectives which have been incorporated into the policy. Tourism policy is a part of a nation's overall economic plan. The regional, state or national level tourism objectives can be achieved through tourism policy. Generally, tourism policy should be designed in such a way that it should reflect the overall development policy of the country or region which have been set in an ethical framework. Policy can be evolved from analyzing existing tourism development patterns and infrastructure, tourist attractions and activities, and the tourist market. They focus on the issues and the best represents the intent of the community to effectively meet the sustainability goals and objectives for the future growth of tourism. Goals of tourism policy. The goals of tourism policy is to enhance the economic status of the country, to improve the lives of the citizens and to maximize the benefits from tourism activity. Tourism policy has to be framed prior to tourism planning. Tourism policy planning and development will be effective only when the public and private sectors work together in setting the goals and priorities for guiding the growth of the tourism industry. There is a need for realistic assessment about what government wants to achieve from its tourism sector and how this achievement can be attained. Also, decide about the role of private sector in tourism, and then bring in the coordination between the public and private sectors for successful planning and implementation of tourism plans. Research is the key to determine the shape and decisions of tourism policy. Reasons for tourism policy formulation. There is an impact of tourism in the areas like economic, socio-cultural and environmental. There are both positive and negative impacts. This is the primary reason for government's involvement in tourism development and tourism policy formulation. Economic impacts. The positive impacts of tourism are foreign exchange earnings, better balance of payment, regional development, diversification of the economy, increased revenues, new employment opportunities, inducement of infrastructure investment. The negative impacts are inflation, opportunity cost, dependency, seasonality, leakage, enclave tourism, seasonal character of jobs, stimulation of anti-social activities. Socio-cultural impacts. Socio-cultural benefits of tourism are protection of cultural heritage, restoration of conventional arts and crafts, cultivation of cultural pride and sense of identity and cultural exchange. Negativities of tourism are loss of cultural character, loss of realism of traditional arts and crafts, commercialization of human relationships and conflicts between hosts and tourists. Environmental impacts. The positive impacts of tourism on environment are: it promotes conservation of wildlife and natural resources, gets revenue for maintaining animal preserves and marine parks, and enhancement of local environment. The harmful impacts of environment due to tourism are loss of natural habitat and effects on wildlife, overfishing, deforestation and pollution and overcrowding and traffic congestion. Tourism policy formulation. The purpose of formulating a tourism policy is to guide all tourism development, operations and management so as to meet the government's short and long term objectives for tourism. The tourism policy is formulated in 6 stages through a consultative approach involving all stakeholders. We will see the stages one by one. Stage 1. List out the issues which encompasses a detailed review and assessment of the current tourism scenario in the country, identifies policy constraints and challenges. These will help to identify opportunities and benchmarks for the future growth of the industry. The issues to be addressed include policy and strategy, institutional strengthening, legislation and regulation, product development and diversification, marketing and promotion, economic impact of tourism and tourism investment, tourism infrastructure and superstructure, human resource development, social, cultural and environmental impacts of tourism. Stage 2. Organizing a series of regional workshops to distribute the issues to regional, public and private tourism stakeholders to ensure that current and future needs of the tourism industry have been well identified. Stage 3. Drafting a tourism policy. Stage 4. Organizing a national forum to receive feedback from stakeholders on a draft tourism policy. Stage 5. Finalizing a tourism policy based on consultative feedback. Stage 6. Formulating an action plan to implement the policy recommendations. Importance of studying tourism policy. Hall provides 3 reasons to study tourism policy: to understand shaping of policy decisions and their impacts, to provide information about solutions to practical problems and to feed this information into the policy process, and to understand the interests and values involved in policy and planning processes. Tourism policy is an important area for study because of its practical and theoretical importance. Tourism is of practical significance as international travel requires government cooperation in the areas like bilateral airline negotiations, decisions about provision of facilities and services, interactions with other sectors, use of publicly owned resources such as national parks and attractions, the issuing of tourist visas, the funding of marketing of particular destinations. Role of government, public sector and private sector in tourism policy. Tourism developers are 3 categories: government and public sector, private sector and non-profit organizations. Public sector defined as the part of an economy that consists of state-owned institutions including nationalized industries and services provided by local authorities. This definition recognizes the importance of legislation and regulations and the authority to carry them out together with the consequences they might have. On the other hand, private sector is defined as the part of a country's economy that consists of privately owned enterprises. Both sectors are contributing to the nation's economy in different ways. Role of government and public sector. The governments of underdeveloped countries generate suitable conditions to attract investment. This entails laws to aid the transfer of money in and out of the country, providing tax incentives for investors, restricting the rights of trade unions, speeding up the process of planning, land purchase, and trying to ensure political stability. Government rationalizes taxation and land policies in tourism sector in all the states and union territories and in respect of land owned by government agencies like railways. It also introduces regulatory measures to ensure social, cultural and environmental sustainability as well as safety and security of tourists. Public sector involvement ranges from policies on passports and visas, environmental protection and taxation policy will significantly influence the growth of tourism. The public sector owns and manages the destination's infrastructure and is concerned with the overall country's well-being. Thus, the government is moving from an active investor to infrastructure provider and manager, planner for tourism, regulator for conservation and preservation, general facilitator. Role of private sector. The domestic and international private enterprises have been given liberty to build the hotels and supporting infrastructure. The aim is to increase export and stimulate the tourism industry. The growth of tourism put forth the increased and interested business opportunities. Private sectors provide most services that the tourist needs to get to the destination and the products consumed while on site. Role of non-profit organizations. The non-profit organizations like UNWTO play a vital role in framing tourism policies, especially policies related to environmental sustainability, execution of global code of ethics for tourism, reducing poverty and fostering sustainable development. Public-private partnerships. Public-private partnerships are specific outcome of co-ownership and cooperation between public institutions and private enterprises. They share synergetic advantages, risks and profits. Usually, the foundation is a contractual agreement between the public sector and profit-oriented organizations. The majority of public-private partnerships are to be found in the development, financing and implementation and management of infrastructure. The intention for private-public partnerships in the field of tourism are to improve the competitive situation and gain competitive advantage, to overcome finance problems, to transfer know-how, to reduce administration. Let us see the tourism organizations. Tourism organizations can be categorized based on certain factors. They are as follows: by geographical boundaries, global organizations, multi-country regional organizations, national tourism organizations, state or provincial organization, regional tourism organizations, local tourism organizations, etc. By ownership, government, quasi-government or private. By function, suppliers, marketers, development consultants, educators, publishers, professional associations. By industry, transportation, travel agencies, tour wholesalers, lodging, attractions and recreation. By motive, profit and non-profit. United Nations World Tourism Organization. The World Tourism Organization is the highly recognized and leading international organization in the field of travel and tourism. 138 countries and territories are its members and it has more than 350 affiliate members. Its headquarters is in Madrid. History. First official international organization was formed in 1925 and Hodge with a name of International Congress of Official Travel Publicity Association. In 1948, Its name was further changed as International Union of Official Travel Organizations based in Geneva. In 1975, UNWTO was again renamed as World Tourism Organization, and its first General Assembly was held in Madrid. What are the activities of this organization? The major task of WTO is to transfer all available information on tourism to developing countries. Here, WTO contributes decades of experience in tourism to the sustainable development goals of nations throughout the world. WTO is well known for its statistics and market research. Research is one of its most important contributions. Human resource development is another goal of WTO. WTO also sets standards for tourism education. WTO makes travel easier by reducing and simplifying frontier formalities and removing barriers to the free movement of tourists. They are also involved in regional promotion projects, for example, Silk Road and Slave Route projects. Organizing and convening international conferences, seminars, roundtable and technical meetings on all aspects of tourism. World Travel and Tourism Council. The World Travel and Tourism Council is the forum for business leaders in the travel and tourism industry. World's leading travel and tourism companies are the chief executives of this forum. WTTC has a unique mandate and overview on all matters related to travel and tourism. Its main aim is to raise awareness of travel and tourism as one of the world's largest industries. It was established in 1990 and led by a 15-member executive committee. It meets twice a year and reports to an annual meeting of all members. Day-to-day operations are carried out by the president and a small staff based in London, Brussels and Washington. Some goals of WTTC are: with cooperation of the governments, WTTC work for strategic economic development and employment priority through tourism, sets an open and competitive markets, pursue sustainable development, eradicates barriers to growth in the industry. It is a global alliance of the top 100 chief executive officers from all sectors of this industry. Sectors like accommodation, catering, cruises, entertainment, recreation and transportation are included. It has created awareness of the economic importance of tourism. WTTC does many researches and proposes for an international standard satellite accounting system. International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO was established in 1944. It is based at Montreal. It is an organization of governments joined to promote civil aviation on worldwide scale. The development of principles and techniques of air navigation and planning and development of international air transport are its special responsibility. The conference held in this forum was the base for the formation of International Air Transport Association. International Air Transport Association. It is the global organization for the international air carriers. Its principal function is to simplify and speed up the movement of person and goods from everywhere to everywhere. IATA is a valuable information source on the world airline industry. Their market research helps the industry develop its strategic and marketing plans. IATA's mission is to represent and serve the world airline industry. Multi-country regional organizations. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Paris, France. Many European countries are members. The United States, Canada, Japan and Australia are also members. Pacific Asia Travel Association. This organization has been represented by nations in Asia and Pacific. Representative countries of PATA that have combined to achieve a common goal, namely excellence in travel and tourism growth in the vast region. This organization works to promote tourism through programs of research, development, education and marketing. PATA has gained a reputation for outstanding accomplishment among similar world organizations. National organizations. National tourism organizations have been established in numerous countries for the purpose of serving national goals and implementing public policy with respect to tourism. The size, structure, functions and responsibilities of NTOs varies from country to country. Below are some examples for tourism organizations at national level. Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. The Ministry of Tourism is a nodal agency for the formulation of national policies and programs and for the coordination of activities of various central government agencies, state governments, union territories and the private sector for the development and promotion of tourism in the country. This ministry is headed by the Union Minister of State for Tourism. Office of Travel and Tourism Industries. This is situated in the International Trade Administration of the Department of Commerce. The aim of OTTI is to enhance the international competitiveness of the US travel and tourism industry and increases its exports. This will help to increase the employment and economic growth. The key functions of the Office of Travel and Tourism Industries are managing of travel and tourism statistical system for assessing the economic contribution of the industry, providing the sole source for statistics on international travel to and from United States, planning and governing of export expansion activities, development and management of tourism policy, strategy and advocacy, and technical assistance for expanding international tourism and assisting in domestic economic development. Mission statement. OTTI is dedicated to helping US businesses gain access to and compete in the global marketplace. Travel Industry Association of America. This is a leading private tourism organization in US. It represents the whole US travel industry. It promotes and facilitates increased travel to and within United States. Canadian Tourism Commission. It runs on public-private partnership. It plans, directs, manages and implements programs to generate and promote tourism in Canada. Convention and Visitor Bureaus. Convention and Visitor Bureaus is a non-for-profit, a membership-based organization bringing together businesses that rely on tourism and meetings for revenue, specific destination, and they enhance the long-term development of communities through a travel and tourism strategy. Conclusion. Tourism policy is an essential and broad topic which play a vital role in economy. Initiatives of Indian government for implementing tourism policy in India, tourism planning and strategies are discussed in subsequent modules.